David Cameron wrote a letter to Donald Tusk on the UK's EU reform after being caught signing off texts with popular internet slang LOL. Former Prime Minister David Cameron has returned to the limelight recently over his alleged involvement in a lobbying scandal with a firm he advises and the Treasury. He was trying to secure Greensill access to a loan scheme called the Covered Corporate Financing Facility, CCFF. The former Prime Minister wanted Greensill Capital to be able to issue loans using taxpayer cash through this scheme. He sent multiple text messages to the personal phone of Chancellor Rishi Sunak and approached two junior Treasury ministers. According to the Sunday Times, the former Prime Minister also sent an email to a senior Downing Street advisor saying it seems nuts to exclude companies like Greensill from the scheme. It is not the first time the former Prime Minister's correspondence has grabbed the headlines. In 2015, Mr. Cameron paved the way to Brexit, as he wrote to then President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, setting out the UK's case for reform of the European Union before the referendum. The letter was 6 pages long and reiterated the well-rehearsed demands that had been known for several months, split into 4 areas known as buckets and Downing Street speak. As expected, the demands focused on economic competitiveness, sovereignty, fairness in the single market and between those inside and outside the euro, immigration and welfare. Similarly to Theresa May, though, the former Prime Minister's renegotiations failed to win over Tory MPs, as he did not achieve all he set out to, or claimed he would in his Conservative Party manifesto. 3 years before, it was revealed by the former editor of The Sun and News of the World, Rebecca Brooks, that Mr. Cameron ended some of his texts with the acronym LOL, which means laugh out loud. The former editor was asked about the frequency of text contacts between the two when she was head of News International. She told the Leveson Inquiry that suggestions Mr. Cameron texted her up to 12 times a day were preposterous as both he and her had better things to do. The two exchanged messages about once a week, although contacts increased to about 2 a week in the run-up to the 2010 general election. Most messages, she said, were to discuss organisation or future social occasions, but in one instance, she commented on Mr. Cameron's performance in the first leadership debate, telling the opposition leader it was not very good. Mrs. Brooks was pressed by the lead counsel for the inquiry, Robert JQC, on how Mr. Cameron signed off his texts, saying everyone wanted to know. Asked by Lord Leveson why he had posed the question, Mr. J said if he did not, people would inquire why the question was not asked. In response, Mrs. Brooks said the former Prime Minister would use DC in the main, but she added, occasionally he would sign them off LOL. Lots of love, actually, until I told him it meant laugh out loud and then he did not sign them like that anymore. But, in the main, DC, I would have thought. After the brief exchange, Lord Leveson urged Mr. J to move on to other subjects. Conservative commentator Ian Dale said Mrs. Brooks was not alone in getting texts of this kind, saying he had also received messages signed LOL. DC, the radio presenter told BBC, he does it to lots of people.